My husband deliberately destroyed my sleep for 3 months by waking our baby while laughing about it with his friends. So I gave him 48 hours of pure sleepless hell. Our daughter Ivy was 6 months old, and I was running on 2 hours of sleep a night for 3 months. Every night she'd wake screaming, and my husband would nudge me, saying she needed me, and I'd drag myself up while he rolled back to sleep. During the day, I was a zombie, putting my phone in the refrigerator and forgetting conversations, while he went to the gym and stayed late for happy hours. My friend Riley watched me break down one afternoon and said something felt off, that babies Ivy's age should sleep longer stretches. The thought seemed too cruel to be real, but I ordered cameras that looked like phone chargers and strategically hid them in the nursery. That night, I pretended to sleep when Ivy fussed around midnight, grabbed my phone under the covers, and opened the camera app. I watched him walk to her nursery, stand over her crib, and drum his fingers on the railing until she went from fussy to full screaming. Then he came back and shook my shoulder, telling me she needed me. Over the next 2 weeks, I watched the footage every morning while he was at work. He did it every single night, sometimes even shaking her mattress until she cried. Finally, I called Riley in tears and showed her everything. She stared at the screen for a long time, then looked at me and said, "He's been torturing you on purpose for 3 months. You need to make him feel exactly what he's done to you." We planned everything over the next week. I built up a freezer stash of pumped milk and created a schedule for Ivy that was times 15 minutes off from her actual rhythm, just enough that nothing would work, but he wouldn't know why. I set up new cameras in every room that connected to my phone so I could watch everything and trigger the motion alarms. Riley booked us a hotel 20 minutes away, and on Friday I waited until he got in the shower. I put Ivy down for a nap, left the pumped milk in the fridge and the wrong schedule on the counter, grabbed my bag, and texted him from the car that my mom had an emergency. Riley and I got to the hotel and pulled up the camera feed on the TV. Friday night he managed, but Ivy cried more than usual. At 2 in the morning, I triggered the motion alarm and it blared through the house while I watched him stumble out of bed panicking and Ivy screaming in her crib. He didn't get back to sleep until 5, and Ivy woke up at 5:30. Saturday morning, I had 3 pizzas delivered at 6, and the doorbell rang over and over while he answered in his boxers, arguing with the delivery guy as Ivy wailed. He tried feeding her at the wrong times all day and she screamed, either hungry or refusing bottles because she was too full. His mom showed up at noon because I'd invited her earlier. She took one look at him and said, "Honey, you look awful. Why is the baby crying so much? What's going on?" He just shook his head and mumbled something about her being fussy. His mom stayed 2 hours, and every time he tried to nap after she left, Ivy would wake up 20 minutes later. Saturday night, everything fell apart. He'd been awake almost 30 hours with maybe 3 hours of broken sleep, and I watched him drop a bottle and just stare at it while Ivy screamed. He put his head in his hands and his shoulders shook. Around 10, a robocall I'd scheduled woke Ivy right after he got her down, and at midnight, the motion detector went off again. He didn't even try to turn it off, just yelled at the ceiling while stumbling through the dark. He looked like a corpse walking around bouncing Ivy with tears running down his face. Sunday morning, when dry cleaning he never ordered arrived at 6, he screamed at the delivery person that he had a baby, his voice cracking on every word. By Sunday afternoon, he hadn't slept in almost 48 hours, and Ivy was overtired and screaming. He sat on the couch holding her while they both cried, then put Ivy in her crib and stood in the hallway with his hands over his face. I watched him start screaming at the empty house. "I can't do this anymore. I can't freaking do this. How does anyone survive this? I finally get it now, okay? I get it." His voice cracked and broke on every word. Riley looked at me and I grabbed my keys. 30 minutes later, I walked through the front door and found him on the floor outside Ivy's room with his head against the wall. He looked up with hollow dead eyes, face covered in tears, and spit up. I held up my phone with the camera app open. He stared at it and his face went completely white. "You were watching?" he whispered. I watched it dawn on him that I knew what he'd done. I walked past him and picked up Ivy, who stopped crying immediately. After I put Ivy down, I showed him the videos of him waking her on purpose every night for 3 months. He said, "My coworkers were joking that you were being dramatic about being tired. I just wanted to see if you were exaggerating. I didn't think it would actually be that bad." I told him to be out by the end of the week.